Well, I have a lot of fans just because of, how I look. So,
Yeah, you do. There's a whole uh website dedicated to you. And there are people ask like what is Tom gonna wear this week?
Counter to intelligence.
Welcome to Counter to Intelligence. I am Ken, and with me, as always, faithfully better than my dog, Tom.
and I am the debunker of all debunking.
Yeah,
So, which is double negative, I guess. But I don't
yeah,
believe anything. So there
yeah.
we go.
And you shouldn't. You don't even believe this is happening.
I don't think it's happening. Yeah.
You don't believe we've been doing a podcast. You just think I've been recording this and then I just rewatch it for myself.
Right. Is there other people involved? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I promise you, as soon as we get money, I'll pay you.
Right. It's millions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't
Like
even believe in
enough of
money.
it. I
So,
don't even believe in money. I don't know that it's there. It's just my computer tells me when I have some and when I don't, and
yeah.
that's all I know.
Yeah. Speaking of money,
Yeah.
this episode is brought to you by Transcendental Tourist from the Fedora Files, Volume 1 by Chip Stetson. And this is a book about ghosts and ghostly places. And if you like ghost hunters and if you like things being debunked, this is the book for you because Chip goes around to all kinds of haunted places and tells you the true history of what's going on there, as well as some of the ghost stories. And he will even tell you the stories that you've seen on TV that are completely fabricated. He's been to places like uh, the what place has he been? He's been there a lot. Well, Billy Mackey's, which recently got torn down, but he tells you the true story about Billy Mackey's before it got torn down. The Crescent Hotel, and he tells you all the true stories about that place. And it's a great read. It's fun if you like ghost stories and if you like to hear true history from each of the places. Transcendental Tourist is where you should go.
And where are these places? Can you give us a little
All
clue as to?
all there are real places all over the country, and he
Oh, wow.
goes to the ones that like the other ghost shows go to,
Hmm.
and he actually investigates them. He spends the night at these places. He interviews people, finds out the true stories, the true ghost stories, whatever. And
Right.
then he finds out and he asks about, hey, so and so Zach went down into this area. What's down there? And then he'll let you know, yes, that's legit, or no, that place doesn't even exist. There's been a few places where they said they were in the morgue,
Hmm.
and when he was at the establishment, they said, we don't have a morgue because,
Oh,
and usually that's in prisons. They'll go to a prison, they'll be like, and we went into the prison's morgue. And then he's like, the prison's like, well, actually, the hospital's across the street. So if anybody died, they went to the hospital. There's a morgue in the hospital,
there's more
and
there.
not in the prison. And the
Right.
hospital still exists. And so you can't really go in the morgue because there are real dead people there and people are trying to do work. So
Right. Yeah, it kind of interrupts. Yeah.
yeah, so but anyway, so that's it. But enough about Ghost. We're going to talk about this is a convoluted, crazy, wild conspiracy, and it involves a Trump, not Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's uncle, John G. Trump. It involves Tesla, but not Elon Musk. It's Nikolai Tesla. And it involves weather modification and seeding the clouds and all kinds of, and it's jam packed. It's like this is a one of the crazier rabbit holes I've gone down. We've gone down some weird ones, but I have to
Yeah.
say the connection here is just so wild and it's just mind boggling. So
I'm
so
excited.
so I'm gonna get right to the players and what happened. All right. So first up, we all know who Nikolai Tesla is. The Tesla coils. The guy was trying to get free energy. Uh, all this stuff, and he was working on multiple things. And he tragically died in 1943. Some question whether it was natural. Some think it was mysterious. But anyway, he died in 1943. His nephew, at the time, Tesla was living in a hotel. His nephew, as soon as he found out his uncle died, tried to get over to the place where he lived to get his stuff because he was worried people would steal it. And he was right. The hotel had been ransacked and stuff was removed. At the time that Tesla died, he was talking about that he had perfected one, a death ray, two, figured out how to modify the weather through the ionosphere using radio waves and electricity and stuff. So he was making these claims, and then he died. Well, in walks John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle, who is a professor in engineering and high voltage electrostatic generators. So right up his alley, what Tesla's been working on. This guy's right. He went in, he was sent in by the US government to find out what was Tesla working on. Interestingly, he was also the director of the British branch of the radiation lab, which were using radar development efforts between the US and UK and MIT and using super voltage generators. So that's where he was going. So he went in and he declared, nothing to see here. Yeah, like all his stuff, it wasn't a big deal, nothing. But it was all taken, gone. Nobody has been able to see it since. So the
Why?
government took it. John G. Trump said it's not a big deal. It's no big deal, but he's working for these secret agencies as well as he's a professor at MIT.
Hmm.
And there's nothing. It's all no big deal. So there you have that. So
Yeah.
that was 1943.
Just
Soon
go.
after, the US government started doing weather modification experiments. The first one was Project Cirrus from 1947 to 1952. And it was, they were trying to use electromagnetic waves hitting the ionosphere to modify the weather. The US Air Force, under their supervision, which again was one of the things Tesla said he was working on and doing. You then had the next one after that was called Project Popeye. This was during the Vietnam War specifically, where they were seeding the weather over Vietnam to cause rainstorms to hinder the efforts of the Viet Cong.
Hmm.
And if you watch Forrest Gump, there's a great scene in there where he talks about how like the weather there was crazy, how like
Yeah.
it'll be super sunny, then suddenly a thunderstorm goes crazy. Sometimes it came down and sometimes it came sideways and sometimes it felt like it came upwards. So
Yes.
Forrest Gump talks about that. But it was like the interesting funny thing is now that the Vietnam War is over, the weather in Vietnam has really calmed down. It's not so erratic where you have these crazy storms the way they were.
Right.
Um, the other next one was Project Storm Fury. This was led by the NOAA, and they were aiming to weaken hurricanes.
Hmm.
Now they were able to do this, but they also found out they were able to strengthen hurricanes during this effort,
Oh wow.
which they by seeding, they found that if you seeded certain things, it would make it less strong, other super strong. Um, so you had that, and then the most famous of these modifications is known as HARP, HAARP. Um, and what was that? That
The
stood
high,
for
that's yeah, that's
yeah,
the,
high intent. Yeah, I'm trying to find. Do you know what the acronym is?
I'm trying to find it. High frequency active auroral research program, right?
Right. So what they would do is they pump radio waves up into the ionosphere, which again is what Tesla said he was doing, which
Mhm.
again, John G. Trump said, oh, it's no big deal. There's nothing there.
Right.
But HARP does it, and they are able to change weather patterns with it. And they've talked about it. It's a little known, not so secret people know about. They've actually traced, you can see during some storms, HARP is going off, and then this weather pattern in the ionosphere, and you can track the electromagnetic thing or whatever, maybe not electromagnetic, but that thing in the ionosphere, you track it and you see it develop a huge storm
Mhm.
somewhere else. But you can
Yeah.
see it going off in HARP across the Earth, and then it lands somewhere else. Like they have it, they've got it to a science of knowing how to move these
Right.
things. And again, they use the chemtrail planes. That was during Operation Popeye. We continue to see that, which is interesting. This is a funny side note. Um, if you go back uh, about 50, 60, well, actually be like 60, 70 years, you see footage of planes, and there's like old movies, there's no chemtrails.
Right.
You look at movies now, there's chemtrails. And they used to try and say that it was, oh, it's the exhaust of the airplane. It's not a big deal. But then you're like, well, how come there wasn't that exhaust 40, 50, 60 years ago, but now there is all over the place? And um, so they've come now. There is like the government admitted that they do like now, Operation Popeye and other things have come to fruition. We know, yes, we did do this, and yes, we still do it. And
Oh,
they
wow.
they claim that they're trying to help areas get water, but it can also do the opposite effect where it can make the clouds dry up, so there is no rain. Where then you get into droughts. You can supercharge a storm or decimate a storm, depending on what you're doing. And then there you go. You can basically, you know, destroy a country's economy if they're an agricultural one by
Right.
either over flooding the area or making sure they get no water.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts here?
Wow.
Like,
Wow. That's a lot.
what are your thoughts with Tesla and what he said he could do,
Right.
and then the claims of John G. Trump, and then literally 3, 4 years later, they're doing what Tesla said he could do.
I mean, do we have evidence that Tesla himself actually achieved that? I guess that would be the question.
Well, what we have is his claims that he said he had done experiments and he was able to do shoot waves into the ionosphere and cause rain and stuff. He
Right.
claimed he could. He
Right.
claimed that that it could be even bigger. He made all these claims. Again, he also claimed he had a death ray, and I
Right.
don't know what that was, but all his stuff vanished. I just find it interesting though that John G. Trump said, "Oh, it's all fake. It's not real. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing that none of this would work." Then 3 years later, literally 3, 4 years later, we're doing exactly what Tesla said could be done with
Yeah.
radio waves
That
into
is
the
a
ionosphere.
weird, yeah, a weird thing. So even if he didn't do it, maybe his experiments led to it and they grabbed all the info. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's the thought, right? They grabbed all whatever he did, whatever he was able
yeah.
to achieve, they grabbed his notebooks, etc., equipment, and then they
Mhm.
made it better over 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and what was the death ray he was talking? Again, that was
Right.
another seemed to be like a electromagnetic pulse of some kind.
Right.
Some people wonder if that has something to do with like we talk about EMPs,
Yeah.
or even there are sound weapons now that
Right.
government you can use on crowds to disperse them.
Yeah.
Like not one of the final ones is that they say there's a sound that they emitting thing that can give people explosive diarrhea. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. There's a frequency where it like they hit you and your guts are like, what? No, and that's good crowd disbursement because
That,
nobody
yeah.
wants to be around that.
No, that's a great idea. I would
Yeah,
not have, of
like
all the things, I would not have tried that. Yeah.
yeah, well, like I'm just I this is where the research went. As I
Yeah.
was reading, I was like, because people were trying to figure out what was the death ray, and obviously it could have been like a frequency that could cause strokes. I don't
Right.
know.
Or
Like there,
unconsciousness. I've heard there's
yeah,
an unconscious sound
yeah.
frequency, apparently. I think
Yeah.
that's
So
like a real thing.
yeah, was that his death ray basically, where it
Yeah.
was a sound wave or like electromagnetic pulse that affected the
Right.
brain in a way, and they just toned it down so like it
Right.
knocks you out or
Right.
these other things. Whereas
Yeah.
he was able to like, oh no, you can kill somebody with this. Which if
Well,
you can knock someone else with something, you probably can kill them with it.
yeah, you just up the amplitude or whatever, and yeah, that'd be it.
Yeah. But
Crazy.
But what are your thoughts though on this ionosphere, like weather
I
modification?
mean, I don't know. The harp thing, I did look at some of that, and I mean, they claim, of course, it's research, right? But then there's people that claim I guess it transmits and receives. I guess it does both.
Hmm. Yeah,
So they do say that. I don't know. I mean, harp, it's a weird thing. I have to admit, like like what is the sort of end goal of this research, right?
yeah,
I mean, they're saying it's just to study the physical processes, but it's a pretty big investment. They're in Alaska, I think, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Pretty big investment to have all this land and do this like one experiment for however many years, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
More.
it's been ongoing, like I said, for a very long time, to the
Yeah,
point that you think they should have all the research they need.
yeah, exactly. And it started at the end of the Cold War in 1991, according to their website,
Hmm.
before they started constructing the HARP thing. So it's been like decades of
Yeah,
just what they're publicly saying, right? So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And it
It
hasn't lost any funding
hasn't lost any funding. You would think if they had
ever.
ever, even with Doge happening,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it would.
Doge hasn't even touched it. So,
Yeah. So that's
uh,
kind of weird. I mean, I've heard a deeper conspiracy for HARP. Have you heard about they think this is how we communicate with the UAPs. Some people say
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
that
the,
this is like almost like air traffic control for space is the conspiracy theory. So
yeah.
HARP is actually not even like it's not even about the weather control, or maybe it was, but or maybe that's
Then,
part of it. But the conspiracy is it's actually just air traffic control
yeah.
for unexpected visitors.
Hmm. Now, well, maybe, but I will say I have watched there, and this people can do this on their own. I'm not. I didn't feel like downloading all these YouTube videos, but there are tons of these YouTube videos where you can see the thermal uh whatever it is,
Right,
and you see a pulse coming from HARP, and
right,
you literally watch it travel, and then it goes somewhere, and then there's a devastating storm. Like they're talking about and they even said that it somehow can affect earthquakes, and this, which I don't understand that, but they said like the most recent one, where was that in over in Asia?
Asia
Uh,
somewhere. Yeah,
yeah, and they said if you watch, and some guy showed the Ionis, the thing harp going off, and
right,
literally this pulse, you watch it go, and it like goes, and it
right.
doesn't seem to follow like a weather pattern. Like it doesn't like seem to like it seems
Yeah.
like they can make it go where they want,
Oh, that's
and
weird.
it went over the area, and the area where that had the earthquake, uh, the ionosphere lit up, and then the earthquake happened there,
Yeah,
and earthquake, and then same thing happened in Haiti. That big major tsunami, was it like 10, 15 years ago?
yeah,
Over again in Asia. Again, they people are looking at these things and uh tracking. And they said the interesting thing about the weather modification stuff, uh they're saying remember the hurricane that came last year? Was it? Yeah, it was last year. That took out North Carolina, like came inland
right,
and devastated North Carolina. And like usually when a hurricane hits land, it depletes pretty quickly.
right,
Like I used to live in Florida. I've been through a number of hurricanes, and it would hit land, scary, but then it just sort of like just hitting Florida, going across Florida. By the time it got across Florida, it
right,
was like all saying now it's just a tropical storm. And like on the West Coast, it was a category 5. By the time it got through Florida to the East Coast, it was a tropical storm, which is still bad, but
right,
it depletes quickly. Whereas like this hurricane, it hit land, came inland, and did not dissipate like one iota for like days. Like it just like bam, bam. It like
yeah,
stayed a category 3 or 4 into North Carolina, across Georgia. You know, you're like,
right,
you're watching this and you're like, how is that? And this guy on a YouTube showed one harp went off, and then these other radio towers in that area seem to be like pulsating, as that hurricane was going and like keeping it alive. And
Oh, that's
it was like very strange, like they were testing or controlling it.
right.
And like, and if you watch the videos, it's very bizarre. It's like
Oh,
so
we were gonna have to we should insert a video right here so people can see. Yeah, I have not seen the videos, but I am curious to see it because I even wonder if it's worse. Like imagine if they actually are testing it and they lost control of it, right? And
yeah,
it's that like that would be
or
almost scarier.
they're trying to make it dissipate, but they did it the wrong way.
Right. And it
Um,
just made it like into the stations and yeah, messed them up.
so yeah, so it's like one of those uh, strange anomalies that happen, and you're just like, what happened?
Now, here's
So,
what they claim. They claim that the radio waves and the frequency rate ranges the HARP transmits are not absorbed in the troposphere or the stratosphere, which is
hmm,
where weather is. So they're saying there's no interaction. There's no way to control the weather.
wow.
And basically it's just a big, large radio transmitter, and it doesn't significantly interact with that. So that's what they're saying.
Oh, well, if they said it, then it's fun. Then that's true.
Then the conspiracy's over. I mean, no, but there is, it is interesting. Like, they don't give a lot of details on the website about, they said, well, if you want to know like what we've achieved, you got to read this. They give a link to some publicly available bibliography, right? And
Yeah.
you do have stuff going, up to 2000, looks like 2010. We've
Hmm.
got stuff um that's on there. Let's see how far is
Yeah.
it a bit new. Like, but I think the newest thing I see on there is like 2010. So I don't know
Yeah.
what's in the
So
last
what have
15.
they been doing? Yeah, in the last 15
Yeah,
years, what's been going on? Obviously, something
yeah,
they aren't doing anything else. The place is still open, still functioning. People are still doing stuff. Yet they
right.
have nothing to report for 15
Nothing new to
years.
report. That's suspicious. You would think, I mean, because again, that's 15 years ago. I get if they didn't publish the stuff in the last couple years or whatever, but because maybe they were still reviewing it, but it's been 15 years. So yeah, there is nothing past 2010 on this website. So
Wow.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So so do you think that Tesla was onto something?
I think Tesla was. I honestly believe, yeah, that he probably was. I mean, I don't know like why they came and grabbed this stuff. Maybe they thought it was national security interest or who
Yeah.
knows. Yeah, I think so. Even if he didn't, it wasn't fully successful because it takes a lot of power, I think, right, to
Hmm.
do it. I think he probably was like in the early stages of it, is my guess, and that
Yeah.
he created enough interest that the government's like, we should take a look at this stuff before we let this fall into somebody else's hands. So I could
Yeah.
totally see it happening.
So you think John G like just took it, said it wasn't a big deal, passed it on to his, and he probably because he was in that like that was right up his alley with the super generators and stuff. He was probably, ooh, yeah, there's some stuff we can do here, and then
Right,
let's just
exactly.
not tell
Let's
anything.
not tell anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just think it's also interesting that now we have a President Trump who is, pals with a guy who runs a company named Tesla.
Right. That happened to
Uh,
be related. And then the early Trump was involved with this. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird.
That is strange.
It
Not
is.
that, yeah.
Now,
But
here's the weirdest claim to me on the HARP website.
yes.
Does it operate continuously? They say no. The last experiments were done in October 2022. Why? You still have this
Hmm.
facility there. So
Yeah. It's
maybe they're doing something else. I don't know. But
so what
and they say typically it's 1 to 2 weeks and up to 4 campaigns in a given year. So like 8 weeks out of the year they're doing this. But like from what I understand it, people are there, right? Like it's
yeah.
not empty.
It's not closed. It's still there's still people going in and out of it. It's
Yeah.
highly guarded too.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You can't just walk in and
Yeah.
be like there's like a guard station and
Yeah.
you have to have a reason for being there.
Well, once a year they have an open house, they say.
Oh, do they?
So
Hmm.
I'm thinking flight to Alaska like a year from now. I don't know when their open house
Yeah,
thing
we
is.
need to find it. Yeah, we need to find out the open house, see if they'll let us in. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
wonder like how far in they let you go.
Right. It's like, well, welcome to the lobby, and we'll
Yeah,
see
it's like kind of like the Mormon temple. You can't go all over the place. They only let you in certain parts.
you. That's true. I've never actually tried to do it, but I hear there are parts that are just you can, yeah,
Yeah,
totally off
what's the
limits.
secret in the Mormon church, man?
I want to know. I have
Yeah.
questions.
I have questions. I have some answers, but
That could be a future episode. There's
yeah.
got to be some kind of, yeah,
Oh,
some,
there's tons of conspiracies with the Mormon church, man. I don't know if I want to go down that road though and
right,
get
right.
get a, get the Mormons mad at me.
No, no, I don't want to do
Because
that. I
like
don't even know this conspiracy.
back in the 1850s when you got the Mormons mad, a lot of people died. So I'm
Oh,
trying
let's
to
not do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to tick off the Mormons, man. They're fighters. Scrappy.
Oh my God.
Scrappy. And they have a lot of kids and they'll come at you. Yeah.
The whole, all together, they're going to take us
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, they will. So yeah. So do you believe that we are modifying the weather?
Don't have evidence to suggest that we are, but I do think it would not surprise me if we aren't. What we have done, right? Project Popeye,
Yeah.
that's legitimate um, evidence that we are. So why wouldn't we have continued? I would think that we
Yeah.
would have continued the experiments, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is the place where they're doing or one of the places. I mean, even just for the sake of science, like you would love to be able to control the weather just to know how it works, right? So.
Yeah. Well, here's one that's gonna make is interesting. That the US was now using drones to
Oh,
modify the weather. And
wow.
according to an article in AccuWeather, the Federal Aviation Administration picked 6 test sites throughout the US in December of 2013 to try out drone-based cloud seeding. The goal was to make weather control operations more cost efficient and easier than, say, blasting thousands of fuel guzzling rockets into the troposphere. One
Wow.
such site was the Desert Research Institute in Reno, Nevada, where rampant drought plagues the arid desert. And supposedly they made it rain.
Oh my gosh.
So, so they admit they do it.
Yeah.
They admit the chemtrail, the clouds, like it's now they don't try and lie about it anymore. They used to lie about it. They used to be like, no, 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 no. Now it's like, oh no, we see the clouds, we do that. And it's funny if you go back to Bugs Bunny cartoons, there is cartoons of the Bugs Bunny and them trying to seed the clouds. Uh, yeah, there's some old school cartoons of that. I remember seeing them when I was little and not understanding what they're doing, but they were trying to, and they were literally like shooting seeds, like bird seeds up into the clouds to make it rain, and it made it rain, and they're like, yay! And I think even Tom and Jerry did it at one point.
Well, if
Um,
Tom and Jerry did it, I feel like everyone should be able to do it, you
yeah,
know?
so
Yeah.
like that was it, but like now they're even saying they're using drones to do it.
Yeah. I
And I
want to
guess
see that drone. I wanted,
uh
what did they do? How did they release it? Is it like a spray?
so I guess I don't know what it is. And that one interesting. This is funny. In 2008, Beijing, the Chinese, saw that a storm was coming that was going to affect the opening ceremonies, and they went and seeded the storm so it would erupt and dissipate before it got to the opening ceremony area.
Wow.
So they used planes to seed it, supersede it, so that it would just you know downpour
Yeah.
before it got, so that the opening ceremonies would not be hindered. So
That's next level stuff right there.
yeah, so I mean they did like you know Chinese stop the rain. France does a weird opening ceremony, and everyone's talking about that one, and they didn't seed anything, but nobody cares that the Chinese had a way to make the weather be perfect for their opening ceremony. Everyone's
Right?
too busy talking about a blue dude coming out of a platter.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
True. Oh, I
So
remember the blue dude. That was weird, honestly.
yeah,
They should have cloud seeded that to stop that ceremony, I think.
yeah,
Just
yeah. Well, they or they should have explained like
right.
the thing is, the way they explained it was lame, and they're like, we weren't meaning it to look like this. They should have said, hey, and in the opening ceremony, we're gonna depict this, and
Right.
this is what it is. What
Right.
they didn't do that. They waited till everyone was up and I think that's what they wanted. They wanted people in an uproar, and they're like, no, it wasn't the Last Supper. It was the Feast of Dionysus, and it's like, well, why didn't you just say that was going to be
Right.
it from the beginning? Why
Yeah.
did you like let people assume? You
Right.
knew what was going to happen.
Exactly. Like they
Yeah.
could have just put a little sign underneath the
And by
statue.
the way, the Feast of
Mhm.
Dionysus, they didn't use tables. It was a
That
flipping like crazy orgy.
it was a rave. Yeah,
Yeah, it
basically.
was. It was. It's just a drunken rave, weird, and they didn't sit at a table.
Yeah.
Like there's no paintings of them sitting at a table.
Right. That so what
And
they're
why was Dionysus blue?
right. That doesn't make sense.
So I just want to know.
Does he think he's the genie? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I
he's
don't know what
the
he
genie.
thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna say that Tesla had something. They figured it out. They made it even stronger, and we use it whenever we want.
I'm going to
And
say
because,
completely plausible. I have the plot unproven but plausible. It makes sense
well,
to
I
me
mean,
that
I'm just saying because they do now admit it's taken them because I guess people first started talking about cloud seeding back in the 50s,
right.
and they denied it. Then they kind of admitted it in the 70s. Just there was one blip. I found it in a New York Times article about Vietnam, and that's where
Right.
Project Popeye, and they
Right.
admitted that they tried it.
Right.
But then it took them another like 15 years to say, yeah, well, not only did we try it, we succeeded at it. So
Right.
I think it's they're now around emitting the chemtrail thing in the seeding that we do that. I think
Yep.
eventually they'll come around to admitting, oh yeah, HARP and electromagnetic waves into the ionosphere, we can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think one day they may even admit that that hurricane last year was them trying either to dissipate it or they really were trying to make it stronger to see if they could. I
Yeah.
my feel like because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, I feel that they were trying to dissipate it and it did the opposite effect of what they meant to do
Yeah.
and it strengthened it
That's
and
a
it
problem.
made it worse.
Yeah.
And now they can't say, oh yeah, we were trying because then it's like, wait, you can do that,
Right.
but because I think a lot of people don't realize like a lot of people like people who are into conspiracy know about HARP, but like everyday folks probably have never heard of it. And
Yeah. I had to
the
look it up.
idea, yeah,
Yeah.
the idea of using electricity and electromagnet in the ionosphere to do this, people are like, no way. It's like, oh no, I don't know if it's so no way. It's pretty like, and they're admitting they're trying to do it. The fact that they now admit they try to do it makes me think that they have done it. And
Right.
because there are other countries that have tried to uh, point out that America's hurting us. Uh, like because like DARPA is another organization, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency.
Mhm.
They were involved in this, but a lot of countries came out saying that they say, yeah, America does do this, like
Wow.
around the world, that America does this to us, and
Oh my gosh.
like we've seen it happen, and according to their researchers, they've seen these things go on. Um,
Be into
but
the weather wars. I worry about the future of warfare. It's like weather warfare, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's gonna be robots, drones, and the weather. Yeah. So like what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, nothing. Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people that don't have any egos or ambitions to like, or public image to maintain. It's yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like we're not at war. We're not gonna start a war. Oh, what? There was a tsunami in the Sahara. That's crazy. How I didn't even know there was an ocean there. What? Suddenly there's an what? Oh, half Africa's gone. Wow. That must have been a wild storm. Meanwhile, Harp is like glowing red and like wah, 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 wah. It's like, yeah, it's like we had no idea. Whatever. It was huge. And like
Oh
and what
gosh.
yeah, and maybe there's something going on with that Starlink, maybe, hey, I don't know. There could be a
But can we
connection.
turn it into a profit-making opportunity? The Tom and Ken Ranch, open for investment. Anybody wants to like cloud seed right over it so we could grow lots of crops? Like, what do you
Yeah.
think? Okay.
Marijuana, because that's a big seller.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You got to get a license. You got to get a license
I
first.
know. I have a friend who's has a marijuana farm out in Washington State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they seem to be doing very well. He doesn't like a partake. He just grows and sells it.
Grows
He's
it.
he's a
So,
business guy. He knows what
yeah.
he's doing. He's like, yeah, you don't smoke your profits. You know,
Right.
you
Oh my
just
gosh.
profit from the smoke. And then so I'm like, smart guy. But
That's,
also like the regulations out in Washington aren't nearly as crazy as where we are.
oh, I'm sure they're really strict here compared to
Yeah,
everywhere else.
yeah. It's like it costs like almost $1 million just to get your license and all that, from what I
Whoa.
understand. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard
That's
from
a,
people who have tried. So it's usually a conglomeration of people come together and they all pool their money to get it going. So
I mean, do
yeah,
you have room in your backyard for this? That's the question. I don't.
yes,
You do.
yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
You'll be the site then. Let's do it.
Yeah, I am the site. But yeah, so there you go. So I'm firmly on the side we're doing this crazy stuff. You are, we probably might be. So
I feel like I could definitely see people doing some science related to it. I don't know if we're actually actively controlling the weather, but I feel like scientists would do experiments. They've done it for so long. Why would they not?
yeah,
Would
yeah.
they
Why would
stop?
they
Yeah,
stop now? Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So I think
There
they,
is a storm over my house today. I know because we talked about it. I know it's you who did it.
yeah.
So just,
Well,
let
I
you know.
mean, I might be controlling it.
Yeah,
I have a little electromagnetic device, and I just point it at the clouds, and stuff happens.
yeah.
But,
I mean,
yeah,
earlier today I turned on my phone and it rained. So I'm just saying
yeah,
I might have the same thing.
yeah. 5G
Five
controlling.
5G is
So
doing it. So
yeah.
I do actually have 5G, so that's probably it.
See, there you go. Watch
It all
out.
connects. And then I got a text from the old Trump, right?
Yeah.
And he did me, and he's like, "It's true." So
Yeah. And he's dead. And that's even
yeah,
crazier
and which is even
that
weirder. Yeah,
he texted you. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
It
See,
all
it's
connects
all,
in
yeah, it's all coming together. So, there we, I think we can put this one to bed. What conspiracy do you have in your mind that you
the.
want to divulge into next week?
I've got to find a good one. Let's see. Can I go to conspiracies.com? Is there such a site? I don't
I
know.
don't know. We should start one if there isn't.
Oh yeah, that would be
Yeah.
good. All right, let me look up the list because I'm sure there's like I want to find the best. So apparently Popular Mechanics has a list. Let's pick it from there. Okay, we did the moon landing.
Yeah.
We JFK. Are we done all of them? Oh, we can do a COVID-19. Um,
Oh.
Earth has been sucked into a black hole.
Eh.
Yeah. Oh, now this is something that Disney created Frozen as a distraction.
From what?
Well,
Or maybe we don't want to say what.
yeah, we don't want to say what he did, what he might have done that involved freezing things. So,
Wait, so
oh,
Disney, wait, what? Go ahead. What is it? You
oh,
found another one?
last one. There's 30, but I won't read all of them. The Denver International Airport is Illuminati's headquarters.
Oh, let's do that. I
Yeah,
actually have that. All right. We are going to go and do the Denver International Airport is Illuminati headquarters. We're going to get into that one. That is a weird airport. If you've ever seen the pictures and
I've been
stuff
there.
in
It
there.
is so weird. I
Yeah.
totally agree. It's,
So, yeah. All right. So we will look into the Denver airport. That's it. We're going to
that's it.
delve into
Denver
that.
Airport. That's huge.
That's it.
All
That's
right.
the winner. I do want to find out more about. I'm going to look up that Frozen thing to figure
Yeah.
out to see if that's even worth going into. But that
Yeah.
sounded funny to me that they created the movie Frozen as a distraction. I need to know what from.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll look into that and
All right.
decide later, is that worth a show? But yeah, Denver Airport, we're in.
Denver
We're in.
Airport, totally. Yeah, because I've been there and it is a weird airport, I have to
Yeah.
say.
So you can go in, you can tell us what you know.
Yeah, I saw
So
that weird painting and
yeah, well,
it's
don't
like,
go any further. We
oh,
don't want to give away.
can't say it.
So now
Can't
they
say
know
it.
there's a weird painting, but there's even more.
There's so much more. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found it interesting that Trump and Tesla have a connection beyond Elon, and that possibly the Trump family brought us weather modification.
Right? We got
But
it
you
all.
can't blame Donald for what his uncle did.
Right, right. No, he was
He
very
was a
busy.
child.
And if we know anything, he has not removed HARP from Doge. Doge is not
Right.
affected. So read into
Exactly.
that.
Not yet. So
Not yet. Not yet.
there you go. So there you go. Until next time, I hope everybody has a great week. We'll see you.
Yep. I'm Tom, and I don't believe what we just said.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.